Why are we seeing this movement of people fighting to bring back physical media?
Buy physical media.
Millennials and Gen Z have collectively agreed that physical media is better.
Shrek is incredible. This is the best movie I saw all last year.
Streaming platforms, keep your DVDs, long live physical media.
Long live physical media.
But do you see where this is going? Buy physical media! Because we are heading towards a world where companies can literally rob you of things you have already purchased for literally any reason. Welcome to rental world. You will own nothing.
Oh, Snake, you want to watch a movie? Alright, I have X-Men, the Wolverine, X-Men, Logan, X-Men, or if you're not feeling like
We're seeing physical media selling out in stores. Bluray demands skyrocketing so high, it's making Hollywood question their choices. We're seeing people abandoning the convenience of Netflix for physical copies of their favorite shows, and streaming services has played a role in this. The comeback of physical media is people's way of telling corporations we're tired of control, and instead of doing nothing about it, they are choosing to take preventive measures before shit hits the fan. And how can you blame them? Streaming is horrible now. Streamers have become notorious for pulling original titles from their platforms in order to license them out elsewhere, or even worse, completely scrape them from the face of the earth to save money. If you paid $14 for Disney Plus in 2023 because you wanted to watch their popular show Willow, it's not on Disney Plus anymore. It was removed from their streaming service along with 50 other titles people paid to watch because Disney had earnings call coming and wanted to use the failure of these shows as an opportunity for a tax write-off. If you think Disney stopped there, you must be living under a rock, because just a few months later, people realized that over 200 films and shows had been quietly removed from Disney Plus in an effort to save money. You'd think a streaming service like Disney would do everything in their power to keep their library full of interesting shows to keep subscribers entertained, right?
Wrong.
Take the one and only Ivan, for example. It had a loyal fan base, solid reviews, and a heartfelt story, yet Disney pulled it from the platform entirely, leaving fans who loved rewatching it with nothing. And this is not the first time streamers have demonstrated greedy behaviors like this to save a quick buck while screwing subscribers in the process. Hulu, which is also owned by Disney, removed beloved shows from their site, including originals like Darby and the Dead, Little Demon, and Dollface, as well as 10 other shows to avoid paying royalties to the creators that made them, and more importantly, to get a $1.5 billion tax write-off. And the worst part is, they were fully aware people subscribed to them just for these shows, and that fans were still watching, yet they still took them down anyway.
Paramount removed a whopping 10 original Nick shows from the service. Are You Afraid of the Dark, Blue's Clues and You, Eats Pony, Middlemost Post, Ollie's Peck, Ryan's Mystery Playdate, Santiago of the Seas, That Girl Lele. And while it's disappointing to see these titles go, you might want to sit down before you hear what I'm about to say next. The Paramount Plus originals Big Nate and Rugrats reboot are gone.
But here's the crazy part. The shows Paramount Plus removed from their library were created by Nickelodeon. But again, both Paramount Plus and Nickelodeon are owned by the same company, Paramount Skydance. Despite their popularity with families and nostalgic viewers, the streaming service chose to rather wipe them from the face of the earth completely than host them on a site that you already pay for. The only way to watch these shows at this point is to pirate it, a trend that has been making a huge comeback lately due to people's frustration with streaming services.
Piracy is making a huge comeback, and the streamers have no one to blame but themselves. Be honest.
You've probably never heard or don't watch many of these shows I listed, so why should you care? Because the problem here does not just have to do with the sudden disappearance of shows, but ownership as a whole, something everyone is scared that they might one day lose.
Everything has become a subscription. It becomes clearer and clearer every day that companies want to take ownership out of the equation altogether. The softwares that you purchase, the operating systems on your devices, the physical movies, games, any media that you buy, even your cell phone, it's becoming something that we don't own, we just license out.
Roughly 25 years ago, the first digital streaming service, Netflix, became available to the public.
Wow.
This was during the glory days of physical media. Traditional video rental services, cable television, and DVD rentals were the dominant form of consumption. Services like Blockbuster allowed people to rent
all over the country. There's one near you. Blockbuster Video.
Back then, watching movies felt like a special event. It took commitment in time and effort to go pick up a movie. The experience of walking around the store to look at the titles you want, read the back covers, talk to store employees, and even other customers about movies they liked solidified the experience. But then came Netflix, a streaming service that claimed to take the stress away from the experience for an affordable price. Fast forward 25 years and 300 million users later, and you would expect the experience to be better than what we had before, right? According to a survey carried out in 2022, over 77% of people said they would rather own their digital content than rely on streaming services. Think about that for a second. 77%. That's nearly 8 out of every 10 people, openly admitting they don't trust the system that currently dominates the way we watch movies and shows. It's shifted people's mentality from streaming being convenient to the fear that we may truly never own anything. Fear that the content we love watching with our loved ones could vanish overnight because Disney wanted a tax write-off. Fear that the concept of ownership in the entertainment we consume daily could vanish in an instant because a service like Hulu wants to avoid paying royalties to creators. When almost an entire population of users raises the same concern, it stops being just a statistic. This is the future many believe the wealthy want for us. We own nothing. They want us to rent our music, they want us to rent our movies, they want us to rent our homes, they want us to rent cars. Companies want to completely take away our control over the media we consume. You can see why physical media is more important than ever and why people are fighting to bring back a time when ownership was king. See, the comeback of physical media isn't just about movies. It affects video games, where studios like Ubisoft have shown they can legally revoke access to games you bought, leaving players with nothing but a receipt. It extends to books, where Amazon has infamously removed your right to download Kindle books, proving that even when you buy a book digitally, you don't really own it. It touches on software that charges you a 50% cancellation fee for leaving their service. And then there's music.
Spotify's funding more, and here's why I'm canceling.
If you've ever watched a movie on Netflix versus on Blu-ray, you might have noticed that the Blu-ray version looks and sounds better than the streamed one. And this is because of a technical factor known as bitrate. The truth is, because streaming services have to deliver hundreds of content to millions of people at once, they end up compressing the file size into the smallest version possible. In the process, killing the quality of the movies, even in 4K. If you're one for quality, you'll notice the Blu-ray version actually has more detail than the streamed version from Amazon. Blu-ray doesn't just beat streaming in terms of video quality, but in audio quality as well. In other words, if you want to enjoy the full experience of a television show or movie, watching in Blu-ray actually delivers a much better cinematic experience than watching on streaming services that cost families up to $1,000 a year. Physical media does not ask for your ID, does not steal your data, and most importantly, does not determine how you use it, which makes it both a prized possession but also a threat to the companies with billions at stake. Physical media may be more important than ever, but it's also more at risk than ever before. LG stopped manufacturing physical media back in 2024. Disney has already begun blocking the production of DVDs and Blu-rays in countries like Australia, and stores like Target are following industry trends by pushing DVDs off store shelves and onto their websites instead. Best Buy is even worse, as they've completely turned their back on physical media altogether. According to The Verge, Best Buy won't even sell physical movies online, including 4K titles and special edition steelbooks that collectors look forward to, something The Verge scarily called the end times of DVD. Hollywood, in a desperate attempt to own everything, supports this motion for less Blu-rays and less DVDs, since keeping physical media dead is in its financial best interests. And you don't have to take my word for it when their revenue numbers from streaming proves exactly this. According to Variety, people spend an average of $61 per month or $700 per year subscribing to at least 4 streaming services just to access the few good shows that remain. And streaming exclusivity doesn't help matters either, with most platforms forcing people to subscribe to new services just to watch the 1 or 2 good shows they release per year. On Amazon Prime, many argue it's only The Boys and Invincible. On Peacock, it's The Office. On HBO, it's Game of Thrones. And on Disney, it's The Mandalorian. But here's where it gets interesting. If you bought the physical copies of each of these shows, it would cost you only about $64 in total, and you get to own it forever without paying a subscription fee for the rest of your life. life. In fact, if you stop by your local thrift store, you can often find DVDs, just like some people have, for as little as $1, a price that more than justifies the ownership and convenience it provides. While physical media's revenue plummeted from $4 billion in 2017 to $1.5 billion by 2022, streaming revenues from Disney Plus alone actually increased from $2 billion to $10 billion. It is because of this massive potential for predictable income that Hollywood can never support physical media over its money printing machine again. Back in the good old days, studios had to put genuine effort into making movies because they knew audiences wouldn't spend their hard-earned money on DVDs unless the film was worth watching. Quality was not just encouraged, it was required for survival. But then came streaming. Suddenly people could access hundreds of shows and movies for the price of a single DVD. And while it felt like a great deal at first, there was just one small problem. Viewers lost their leverage. Studios no longer had to fight for your attention or try to make fans happy by adding bonus content to your DVDs. Movies that used to feel like a commitment where families would gather on Friday night, order pizza, and sit down together to enjoy classics like Ghostbusters had been reduced to background sounds you can play while pressing your phone, and I'm not even kidding. According to CBR, executives are pushing for a change as they realize that lots of people enjoy TV and movies as background sound, and streaming could make it easier by releasing shows that pleases casual viewers over committed ones who want to watch something good. They call this adapting with the times, but many people believe this is just a lazy attempt to put out more shows with lesser quality. And the worst part is because Netflix is the biggest of all streaming services, smaller companies are likely to follow in their footsteps, diluting the quality of movies in circulation to give viewers as much convenience as possible. That's why you see more movies revealing their plots instantly instead of just showing you the characters' expressions. A great example would be the Netflix version of Avatar: The Last Airbender, a series I can't forgive because of how brutally Netflix murdered the show's magic through unnecessary exposition.
The Avatar, the one person with the ability to master all four elements. The Avatar, the next master of all four elements.
Only the Avatar, the one person who can master all four elements.
Only the Avatar, master of all four elements. But when the world needed him most, he vanished.
The lack of ownership, combined with the continuous fall of movie quality as price increased, fueled the great comeback of physical media again and pushed an entire generation to aspire for content ownership. The general mentality I'm seeing online now is, if I'm going to spend money on it, I may as well own it. People are realizing that renting access through streaming doesn't actually guarantee that their favorite shows or movies will still be there tomorrow. And this isn't just regular fans talking. Some of the biggest names in Hollywood are raising the same concerns. Christopher Nolan, for example, a director who has dedicated half his life to making movies for the big screen, has been one of the loudest voices calling for the preservation of physical media. He's openly warned that it's dangerous if films exist only on streaming platforms, because it hands full control to corporations who can decide what stays, what gets edited, or what gets deleted forever. And he's right. Without physical copies, entire pieces of cinema history could vanish overnight. Not because people stopped caring, but because it wasn't profitable enough to keep online. The boomers thought Gen Z could never care about physical media, that they don't know what DVDs are. But Gen Z has proven they do. Both Millennials and Gen Z are making physical media relevant again, something Hollywood never thought could happen. It's become a whole trend on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, where older generations are advising their peers to buy more physical media to restore control back into the hands of the people.
Buy physical media. Because it's not even about if shit hits the fan now, it's when shit hits the fan, especially with Spotify and YouTube rolling out these new submit your ID to use the platform. You know other companies are going to follow suit.
Versus when you stream something, you are at the mercy of the streaming company. With physical media, that copy of Mask of the Phantasm that you just purchased is yours forever. No multi-billion-dollar streaming company can take that away from you.
No more companies, none of that. I'm gonna own everything again. That's why I decided to buy movies.
Vinyls, DVD players, Blu-rays are selling again because of this movement, proving that the generation is ready to forfeit convenience if the circumstance leaves them no choice. You can now learn how to burn DVDs on TikTok. On YouTube, people are building collections of movies and games to ensure they'll always have them forever, no matter what happens online, and they're just getting started. The return to physical media may have started as a nostalgic feeling for many people who wanted to experience DVDs again, but it quickly quickly transitioned into an entire movement after people realized its necessity in today's society, where companies care only about monopolizing digital entertainment.
When I was a kid, I would watch the same movies over and over again. There was a certain point of time where I owned Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Jurassic Park, and Terminator 2. Those were the only movies I had, and I would watch them over and over and over again. I am still, at this ripe old age, a kid that could watch movies that I love over and over. So while I am not going to collect like 100 movies, I am going to make sure that I own the movies that I love.